You're in the bullpen. You might want to watch where you're stepping. Here's American Shorthorn Association CEO Monty Souls.
Well, we want to welcome you to another episode of the Shorthorn Bull Pen. This is Monty Souls, your host, and today I have Jackie McClaskey with me, who is the director or CEO of the American Royal, past Secretary of Agriculture for the state of Kansas. We want to give you some updates on the new Royal that's coming and a little history and a few things going on here at the American Royal, and just make this show about the American Royal for once. So, Jackie, give them a little bit of information about your past, your involvement in the American Royal, as we were talking before we started filming here. This goes all the way back to 2014, first meetings, and you were Secretary of Agriculture, and I'll let you kind of fill in this time frame that has gone to get to where we're at.
Well, I certainly look forward to doing that, but I also, Monty, want to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about the American Royal today. It's certainly a great opportunity for the agricultural industry and the beef industry to see potential in a new home and what we get to do, which we'll talk a little bit about today. But my involvement, you know, I think back to coming to the American Royal as a kid with my dad, and back in the early 1970s, and not really thinking about whether I was in Kansas or Missouri, but coming to Kansas City for the American Royal. So when I became Secretary of Agriculture, that gave me the opportunity to sit on the American Royal Board, which was a huge honor and something that I had no idea would move into what this has today. We were approached by some members of the American Royal team from November of 2014 saying, you know, it looks like we're going to have to look for a new home. We need more square footage than we currently have in the West Bottoms. And while we love our tradition there, we've got to find a place to build. And we'd like to talk to you about doing it in Kansas. And that's kind of how this story started. And it's been an exciting, on occasion, a rocky road. You know, we thought by now we'd be in, but the COVID pandemic slowed us down and kept us from staying on the original timeline. We're back on timeline. They're still going up, and things are really happening. So it's exciting to be back and to be involved in the building project. And as you know, I joined the American Royal after my term as Secretary of Agriculture ended, and started with just the building project, and now the opportunity to both lead the association and the project as well.
This history goes back a little bit. Our Shorthorn Association, we actually moved down here in 2015 from Omaha. And there was a lot of conversation I had with Jackie on and off at that time because we felt this American Royal things that were going to change here would be another reason for us to come to this part of the country as our board was looking to do some changes. So there's a lot of things that tied into why we're in Kansas City now and part of the American Royal. Give them a little history. A lot of people don't understand this background, and I think it's important to get this background. You have a board of directors, you have an association, you are separate from the city of Kansas City, Missouri or Kansas, it doesn't matter. You're your own entity.
We are. The American Royal started actually in 1899. We are just now in 2024 celebrating our 125th anniversary. And it started with a cattle show. Started with the National Hereford Show and grew to include other breeds, and then included rodeo and equine and barbecue and all the pieces that folks know now about the American Royal. But it all started in the West Bottoms with a stock show as a part of saying let's not only go to Kansas City and sell cattle. Let's see what happens when we compete. And the competition actually started even earlier than that, but began being run by an organization that became the American Royal 125 years ago. And when you think about that, it's kind of confusing to people because they come down to the West Bottoms and they think, okay, I'm going to the American Royal, and they have a great big facility and there's an arena across the street. But we have always been a leaser. We've never, at least in modern history, owned any of our own facilities. You know, we own a couple of the auxiliary arenas that sit around the main American Royal complex today, but everything else is owned by the city, and it really doesn't give us the opportunity to create our own destiny and to grow and to become what we believe the American Royal of the future can be over the next 125 years.
One of the things that we in the livestock industry don't understand the importance of until I become involved with this here is the barbecue.
Yes.
It's huge, folks. And I mean, you can kind of fill them in. I mean, they do it now at the racetrack over there by the Legends. I don't know how many thousand people show up for this thing.
Well, there's well over 50,000 people come to the rodeo, or excuse me, to the barbecue. But when we think about the barbecue, what's most interesting about the American Royal Barbecue is the largest competition in the world. So you will hear other sites talking about how many people attended their barbecue and how big their parties were, or how big the carnival component was, or this. But no other contest in the world has more barbecue teams show up and compete. So we call it the World Series of Barbecue because that's what it is. We are crowning the world champion of any one specific barbecue event. Last year we had about a little over 500 teams compete. We intend to be able to continue to grow that. Strangely as it sounds, we're almost out of room in the Speedway. As more and more teams come and more people want to participate, we also think there's an opportunity to grow the public component of the barbecue so more people can come together and understand, yeah, this tastes good, but where did this start? And understand more about the beef industry and the beef supply chain, and really not only we want to keep it fun, we want to keep it a competition, but we also think there's an educational component there. So you're going to see the new American Royal adding more components related to food and barbecue throughout the year to make a tie to the industry. So we're really talking about the entirety of the food and agriculture industry year round.
Well, and the barbecue, it's my understanding, used to be out at the sports complex where the Chiefs and the Royals play ball, but it outgrew that.
So we started here, actually, in the West Bottoms, where we sit today, and we tried it one year out at Arrowhead and out by the K, and I think everyone was surprised at how much space we took. And it's interesting, I don't have this map, I've seen it on the Speedway wall. When you take the infield of the Speedway and overlay it over Chiefs and Royal stadiums, it's bigger than that. You don't think about it until you think about it when you're walking from one end to the other morning during the barbecue. You think about it a lot. But we moved to a bigger green area space, and then the key will be how long can we stay at the Speedway before we have to move again. So we do have in our plans a second phase of the American Royal Project to build our own festival grounds that is nearly 4 times the size of the infield of the Speedway. So hopefully that will hold us and be something where we can be for years to come.
Well, that's great. It's not a fundraiser. I mean, this is a financial activity that's important to the survival of the American Royal as well as the livestock show.
It is. That's one thing when you talk about us being an association, a lot of people don't understand. We are a nonprofit association, and we are focused on food and agricultural events and engagement and education. So not every event we do is going to make money. So sometimes maybe it's a smaller breed show or a smaller horse show, and those aren't going to contribute a lot to our mission. So we really count on our large events to contribute to our mission, to allow us to do things like scholarships and school programs and school field trips, and really engaging now what we're trying to get into and engaging consumers with agricultural education. And the 2 biggest contributors to that are the barbecue and the livestock show.
Yeah, because we got to remember, folks, they're barbecuing the product that we raise. So it's pretty simple. It goes hand in hand more than maybe some people realize. I think we've kind of jumped here and gone forward a little bit, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. We maybe didn't really explain that there is a new American Royal being built, and it's over in Kansas City, Kansas, and it's in what they call locally the Legends area, and I'll let you elaborate on it. There's a racetrack over there and a lot of great things, but it'll be awesome when they get this done.
We are building a new home. It's over 1 million square feet of outdoor and indoor food and agricultural indoor or education and engagement space. We will have a barn, Monty, that is 400,000 square feet in size, can hold over 1,500 horses and nearly 4,000 head of cattle at any given time. 3 arenas, a main arena that will sort of be a little bit more what you might expect in regard to permanent seating and big screens, and then a multi-purpose arena that will be the same size but a little bit more functional, and then an outdoor arena, along with sort of what will be kind of the cornerstone, I guess, of the entire facility, an 80,000 square foot learning and engagement center. And that space is going to allow everyone who walks in, whether they intend to learn about ag or not, you won't be able to get in or out of the American Royal facility without learning a little bit about the agricultural industry, which is really important to what we do. As we said here today in the existing American Royal Museum, it's part of that history we want to take with us, but we also want to talk about technology and innovation and all the exciting things that are happening in agriculture that a lot of consumers just don't understand.
Well, even as we talk about the consumers, that this is a bridge to get between the producers and the consumers. But I'm going to take it a little step farther here and say some of our producers need to get in this bridge and understand the importance that there is out there, that we need to worry about that consumer, even though we're showing cattle or we're in the purebred cattle industry, because that consumer is going to consume our product. That's why we call them the consumer. And we need to learn some of these things. And one of the really, I think, great aspects about the new facility that's going up is the attention that's been given to education of the consumer, young people. It's not just about showing livestock. This has ballooned into a bigger progress of modern technology of agriculture and what it can do for our country.
That's exactly what we're trying to accomplish. We certainly believe that by building this facility, and we're doing it right in the middle of the country, when you set either where we are today or in Kansas City, Kansas, you're within 500 miles of half of the agricultural production that comes from the states in our country. And when you look at it that way, even too from the education perspective, I believe it's about 21 land-grant universities of different types that are within a driving distance. So I like to drive, so 8 or 10 hours is still within driving distance to me, but we're right in the center of the country. And sometimes we here don't understand the opportunity that gives us to really be a home for food and agriculture. But it does. It starts with the producers. It starts with the young people who come here for a livestock show, because they're our best storytellers. We're not the ones that need to be telling stories. We need to make those connections between kids who've grown up showing cattle their whole lives with kids who've never ever imagined what that might be, and they don't even really understand how the industry works. And we believe this facility is going to give us the opportunity to do that significantly in person. We expect over 2 million visitors a year to this site, but we're also going to have a lot of virtual opportunities, a lot of ways to connect with students and young people and consumers who will never set foot on the property. But what we want to do is connect them with people like you, people watching this episode, and say, how can we help connect you with a classroom across the country, or how can we help connect you with people who want to study agriculture as a career? So there's a lot of things that I think you've hit the nail on the head with. We really see this epicenter as being a connector, and the Royal has a role in doing that.
I'm not sure everyone out there understands the support that you've gotten and that we've all gotten for this new facility. Those people that have the means to help make this happen have a sincere heart. It's in their heart to make this happen just the way you described it, as an epicenter for agriculture across this great United States of America.
We are very lucky to have a lot of great supporters, and many of them are right here in Kansas City, and then people who've been supporters of the Royal from around the country are certainly engaged in this project. But I think what you're talking about right now, the heart of the people who are at the core of this project that made it happen. Neil Patterson is a former chair of the American Royal Board, and we lost him a few years ago, but his family is carrying on the legacy of his engagement. And it's one thing for supporters to just write a check, because we certainly are counting on all the folks who want to help make this project happen financially. But what's really valuable is the full engagement. The heart, like you said, they're putting into it, the blood, sweat, and tears of being in meetings on a daily basis and engaging on what we do to make sure this facility can be successful. And we have just incredible supporters in Kansas City, and we need to, because it's a big project. We had a lot of work to do with the state and the unified government of Wyandotte County to make this project happen, so those supporters were critical. And now we're in the heavy fundraising phase. And it's a big number. It always kind of catches people off guard, but it's a $350 million project. And that means we need lots of partners. And we are getting some public star bond support from the state of Kansas, but the majority of the funds are going to come from private supporters. And the support we've gotten is great, but we're always still looking for more as well.
It's a huge project and a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
And a lot of work. And it's really important to make that work and get the new facility, because whether we realize it or not, this has been a great building. It's been a great facility. I'm a little longer in the tooth than some of you that may be watching, but I showed cattle at the American Royal the first time, I believe, in 1974. And in fact, the first year they built Kemper Arena, I showed cattle in Kemper Arena, and then I judged llamas in Kemper Arena. And so we got to have a closing date. When do you think this is going to be done?
We started dirt work in March of 2023, and on November 28th, this last month, I guess just a couple of months ago, we actually took the first piece of steel vertical. And if you were to drive out there now, you can see the outline of the first barn gable. And so the barn is going up really quick. The arenas and the education area will follow, all of which to be concluded by September of 2025. It's exciting to actually have a date now that I feel very confident about. There's been a lot, since I got involved in this project in 2014, there's been a lot of closing dates. But this one we're well on our way. We are on schedule. I've told our construction crew, you know, they talk about any day that it rains, then they can't do work. And so it's a missed day for them. I'm like, you're building a food and ag facility. If it doesn't rain, there is no food and ag facility. So we're gonna have to put up with a little rain, and the cold weather here lately has, you know, made it a little bit slower. But so far, so good. We're both, you know, it's exciting. We're both on budget and on time. So we hope to keep it that way.
I probably ought to ask you to hold your hands out to see whether they're going to shake here when I ask you this next question.
No, when I don't,
So
yeah.
do you have enough nerve to have the Royal a month later after it's open, or do you need to wait a year to make sure everything's going to happen?
You know, I feel like this is a loaded question because Monty's on the livestock committee, but I think all signs point towards moving the livestock show in 2025. We are putting together 2 calendars. We can do the schedule a little bit tighter if we move out there, and we're kind of looking at maybe not tightening it up as much as it could in the future, but kind of looking for an in-between number of days we could hold the show. But I don't want to be in this building if everybody who got here had to drive by the new one and it looks done. So I think we will likely have the livestock show there in 25, and then hopefully follow with 2 horse shows in November of 25. So there's nothing like building a brand new facility and testing it with the absolute largest event you have. So that's probably what we're going to try.
You'll make it happen. You got a great staff. You'll make it happen, I'm sure. You know, it's you know, everybody asks that question. This could be the last American Royal then that we're going to see this fall, that we're going to be here in this building. Pretty sure of that at this point in time.
We will certainly know by this fall if
Right.
we have lost time or had a delay in the project, that we would imagine that having occurred, you know, before then. But we will know this fall if this is going to be it. So we do encourage everybody to come out in this fall in a couple of reasons too. It is in sync with our 125th anniversary. This is the 125th American Royal Livestock Show coming up this fall, which is just an amazing thing to make happen. So we want everybody here anyway, but it also could be the last time. So as we've been talking about it, it's sort of ended up maybe being a nice thing. 125 years here in the West Bottoms where we can celebrate that tradition. And then we start off, you know, next fall with the first of the next 125 years and take it from there.
And the other part, that it's a great tribute to being here in the West Bottoms in Kansas City, Missouri before we move. And it's a tribute to this location and the history and all of the great things that have occurred through the American Royal existence over the years. So we haven't probably quite told them exactly where the new building is. So we all around here in Kansas City know what the legends means. Mm-hmm. They probably don't understand that, many of our viewers. So let's give them a little racetrack, and if you can give them a little bit of, let's look at a bigger scope of audience that we're talking to so they can zero in right where they're going.
Well, to a lot of good ag people, they're going to think we're building it in some really good farm ground, because there's the ground on which we're building the American Royal was purchased by a gentleman by the name of J.W. Perry in 1934, and it has been farm ground ever since. So we are, you know, we're developing some good farm ground in an area where that development started a little over 20 years ago, I believe. And it started with the Kansas Speedway being built in western Wyandotte County, which is the county that's where Kansas City, Kansas is located. And that speedway was done through a process the state uses called star bonds. I tell you that because it's really important to the overall story. From that, it built up a shopping area known as the Legends, started to attract more retail and restaurants. more hotels and opportunities out there, which then in turn attracted a minor league baseball, which is now known as the Monarchs, named after the historic Kansas City team. And Sporting KC, the soccer stadium, was then pulled to that area using the same incentive tools and in the same area. So now there's a whole nother development going on in this area that is related to, but there's a soccer practice facility, there's some additional home field youth sports activities. So the American Royal really becomes another part of that, and there's exciting conversations going on with our neighbors and our partners of what else will come with that. So if you've been to Kansas City, it's in the Kansas City, Kansas, Village West, Legends area, sort of north of the Speedway, west of the soccer stadium. If you've never been here before, think about it at the intersection of I-70 and I-435. And what that should tell you is two things. It's going to be easy to get there because it's close off an interstate, and it's pretty darn close to the airport in regard to proximity and speed of being able to get to the airport. So from our aspect, it's a really perfect home for us. And, you know, it's also a place that families are going to be 100% comfortable coming and letting their kids roam and go shop and do things on their own. It's definitely a family-oriented place that also has some fun things for adults to do as well.
No, it's absolutely right. The airport's just up the road. It's right there at the intersection. I don't think you're going to have to drive a mile off the interstate and you'll be at it. Yep. And it's really where you need to be for an event like this. And for those of you that may not realize, Kansas City has kind of become the soccer headquarters across the whole country, really. It's just, I think there's a soccer association here, the headquarters, and they train a lot of people here. So there's a lot of things going to happen here that's going to connect and make this grow. So what we're going to see when we're done, and I've seen some of the plans, I've been fortunate to be in on some of those meetings, we're going to see hotels. We're going to see restaurants. There's a number of them there now, but we're going to see more. So the entities that we need to be there and eat and sleep and enjoy the atmosphere is going to be right across the street almost. Yep,
literally right across the street. We actually got official word that our address said we started in 1899, will be 1899 American Royal Way, and you'll be able to walk right across that road to hotels and retail and restaurant. We're really trying to design it so you can park in one place and really get everything you want. And of course, if you want to enjoy downtown Kansas City or some other things in the region, it's not going to be more than a 15 or 20-minute drive. So we certainly have access to everything else, but if you want to just come into this area, we're going to have all the tools that you need. And so I think you're going to see hotels that are themed with what you would expect. You're going to see retail and restaurants that are targeted towards the type of people who might be at the American Royal. So I think it's going to feel like a really, almost like a home away from home for a lot of people who show at the Royal.
Yeah, and it'll be, as you've already said, you've got horse shows coming in November. There's going to be a lot of other events coming in there from, a lot of junior nationals are going to be scheduled coming in there, and cattle shows throughout the year. Other activities just beside the American Royal livestock events will be held there. So it's going to be a used facility. And, you know, we were here, 2 years ago for our junior national at this at the American Royal facility, and that's when I've learned from you folks that you don't own the building, and so the problems that you have, because you have to call the city of Kansas City to get something fixed or done. Well, now you're going to have that control yourself.
We're really putting together a plan that will allow us to operate the facility in such a way that those problems don't surprise us, right? No. We want to be a great place for people to host events, and that means we're going to have the team that hopefully, as soon as something's broken, it's fixed. But we're also going to have control over the maintenance plan and how we set it up. That those things shouldn't come as surprises very often. But it's something I think we're all excited about.
No, I think it's really exciting, and I can't wait to be there and be part of it myself. And I would say to everybody else, you need to put on your calendar, fall, October 2025, American Royal, new facility, new building, we're going to be there. And for that, we'll sign off from the Shorthorn Bull Pen episode this week and look for you next time.